President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping shake hands after making joint statements at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, China, in November 9, 2017. Damir Sagolj, Reuters. There's talk of a deal to get the Chinese to buy $200 billion more of our stuff. This sounds great, but it's unlikely China will follow through, and even if it wanted to, experts are skeptical it's workable regardless. The big news here is that we are perhaps willing to accept a deal far short of any structural changes in how the Chinese does business. It can't help that the point man in the negotiations has been Steve Mnuchin, who knows nothing about China, trade, or national security and is apparently desperate to get any deal. It sounds like he was the one who urged Trump to buckle on ZTE because the China were insisting on it as the condition for further discussions. This led to Trump's jaw-dropping tweet about saving Chinese jobs, which, rightly, caused a furor on Capitol Hill. If there's not a deal, the uproar will have something to do with it. Derek Scissors of AEI had a post on why ZTE is exactly the sort of Chinese firm we should be cracking down on. ZTE is a central government-controlled state-owned enterprise. These are the companies the Communist Party relies on to dictate the direction of the Chinese economy, and putting them at risk is the best way to pressure the party. If you want to beat China, you don't rescue ZTE, you target many more Chinese state firms. You target them for using intellectual property stolen from Americans. You block their access to our market just like our access to the Chinese market is blocked by the subsidies state firms receive. You consider whether their assistance to North Korea, construction activity in the South China Sea, or other international behavior should be sanctioned. Hurting giant state enterprises hurts the Communist Party. It's a better tactic than tariffs, and much better than rescuing ZTE. President Trump was right to confront predatory Chinese behavior, but then strangely reversed course on Sunday. It's important he gets back on track. Getting the Chinese to really change is a monumental undertaking, a fig leaf deal, especially with so much else on the administration's plate. It is the path of least resistance. It looks like that's where we are headed. One of the common complaints of gun control advocates after a high-profile shooting is that Republican politicians offer thoughts and prayers, a decent human response to which nobody ought to have any objection, and then don't propose any actual policy solutions. Of course, as in many areas. Read more. One of the most important people in Winston Churchill's life was his sixth great-grandfather John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough, who died more than 150 years before Winston was born. When Churchill, that is, Winston, was forced into the political wilderness in the 1930s, he wrote and published a massive. Read more by Christian Alejandro Gonzalez. After Donald Trump's victory in 2016, Corey Robin, a professor of political theory at Brooklyn College, published a second edition of The Reactionary Mind. As its subtitle indicates, the book is a critical survey of conservative thinkers and politicians, from Edmund Burke to Donald Trump, through a series. Read more. Released in 1980, David Lynch's The Elephant Man is the one Lynch film that found a mesmerizing middle ground between conventional Hollywood story structure and its director's surreal dreamscapes. Yet today it seems on the verge of being forgotten, and that's a shame. It's an exceptionally unusual and read more. Not about my views, we all know how completely wrong they are, but about my ability, during the final days of NR's 2018 Spring Webathon, to persuasively appeal to the many thousands upon thousands of you who come to NRO relentlessly. Know that this place continues because of the generosity of Read more. Thursday evening, the Trump administration announced a measure that pro-life advocates have been seeking since the Clinton administration: restoration of Reagan-era rules that require a bright line of physical and financial separation between Title X services and providers that perform, support, or read more. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo spent his morning writing an open letter to President Trump and Congress demanding that they do something about gun violence after a school shooting in Texas killed at least 8 people on Friday. https://twitter.com/NegevCuomo/status/99752747400571392 Columbine. Read more. There's talk of a deal to get the Chinese to buy $200 billion more of our stuff. This sounds great, but it's unlikely China will follow through, and even if it wanted to, experts are skeptical it's workable regardless. The big news here is that we are perhaps willing to accept a deal far short of any. Read more. In an interview with MSNBC, Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, offers himself as a lodestar for the Democratic Party, touting his progressive economic populism as a winning formula for 2020 and beyond. One gets the impression that de Blasio, who has never been known for his humility, believes he has a Read more. No matter how often Hamas tells us that rioters on the Israel-Gaza border are armed, the media keep referring to them as protesters and demonstrators. No matter how often Hamas concedes that those rioters are part of a broader war, the media simply won't report it as such. And even though, read more.